Mr. Barossett, while we're here, I do not, Mr. Barry Barossett or Mr. John Barossett or even Ms. Jensen, if you do not want me to say a word about exhibit numbers, I won't. My reason for saying it is the record, and I'm only looking at one piece of paper and not having to juggle multiple pieces of paper, but I certainly can stop saying anything.
I have no problem talking sometimes.
Okay. All right, so just a reminder one more time about the rules. You are welcome to be here. You are welcome to watch the trial. If you need to have a conversation with somebody, and I'm not talking about our media's doing their own thing and honestly have been quiet as mice and been I haven't even noticed them really, so that's not the issue. But if you need to have a conversation that's more than a word, then you need to step outside. There should be no facial expressions in the sense of reactions to testimony. We all have facial expressions, but there should be no smiling, no eye rolling. The jurors, you can look at the jurors, but I've had court security noticing certain people glaring or eyeballing or repeatedly staring at the jury. And that's not appropriate either. It's if you're here to watch the trial, let's watch the trial. And you're welcome otherwise. I think with that, Ms. Jensen, unless there's any issues, I'm ready.
Ready, Judge.
Mr. Barry Barossett.
Ready, Your Honor?
Mr. John Barossett.
Yes, ma'am, ready.
Who's handling the next witness, who I believe is Marcus Savage?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go.
Just for the record, I take stuff all the time. My wife is a bitch. She throws it away.
That's starting to explain some things, Mr. Barossett. That's good.
Jury's in the box, Your Honor.
Okay, everybody may be seated. The defendant is present with counsel. Assistant State Attorney is present. I'm turning it to you with some trepidation. How are we back there? And we're good?
We got a coffee pot.
I was supposed to ask you about that this morning. I'm sorry. I think I got sidetracked on something else. So you got a coffee pot, but I mean, the mystery of the snacks, are we good on that?
Yeah.
And do they have coffee for you to put in the coffee pot and cups?
Yes.
Y'all keep me posted. Ms. Jensen, call your next witness.
State calls Marcus Savage.
Do me a favor, though. I'm sorry to keep reiterating this. The coffee pot, please turn it off tonight. Sound like a plan? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Have a seat. Pull up to the microphone. State your name and spell your last name, please.
Marcus Savage, Savage,
Where are you employed?
at the Pensacola Police Department.
What do you do for the Pensacola Police Department?
I am a gun crimes detective.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
6 years now.
Let me take you to September of 2017. Were you assigned to assist in the investigation of Taylor Wright's whereabouts?
I was.
And as part of that assistance, did you get some video surveillance?
I did.
From where?
The Tum Thumb on, that's like 9 Mile Road.
9 miles is really long, so
It's at the corner of 9 Mile and Beulah.
and for what date and time?
Can't remember the exact date and time.
If I show you an offense report, would that help refresh your
Yes.
memory?
On 9/28/2017, 1,400 hours. I'm sorry, 9/29, sorry. That's when I burned, got the video burned.
Okay.
September 29th.
But what's the date of the actual surveillance?
September 8th, 2017.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. And when you got the surveillance from the Tom Thumb, who did you get it from?
One of the managers that was working there.
Okay. And did you review the video surveillance before your testimony today?
I did.
Judge, with no objection from the defense, the state would move in States 43.
All right, it's received as states, get there, 43.
And permission to publish?
You may publish.
All right, tell the jury when there's something of interest.
At the top of the screen up there is the, sorry. Let's see. The top of the screen up there is the vehicle that Miss McArthur was driving at the gas pump. Then it's showing her exiting the vehicle and walking into the store.
Can you read the date and time right here?
Yes, September 8th, 2017, 11:48 a.m. Miss McArthur in a white shirt inside the store. It appears she picked up a beverage, another item, and then walked to the register to check out. And she's exiting the store and walking back over to the silver truck that she arrived in.
Does the truck pull out from the pump and then leave?
No,
The truck doesn't pull out?
I'm sorry. It pulls off from the pump and then it does leave. I'm sorry. It does leave. Yes. Sorry.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. John Barosset's going to ask you questions. If they're just yes or no, answer yes or no, please, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. You assisted in other areas of this case as well, correct?
Correct.
On or about October 19, 2017, you helped participate in a search of a property out on Britt Road, a farm area.
Correct.
And part of your job out there was to participate in the search of the residents out there.
Yes, correct.
As part of your job of searching the residents, did you collect any items of evidence?
Not that I recall in the residence.
Did you search anywhere else at the property out there?
Yeah, just no other areas in the property.
Okay, just inside the residence?
Correct.
No further questions.
All right, Ms. Jensen? Is he free to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he completely free, Mr. John Barosset?
I'm sorry, yeah, he's free to go, yeah, sure.
All right, you're free. Just don't discuss your testimony. Thank you. Call your next witness.
State call Steve Holmes.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Have a seat. Pull up to the microphone and state your name, spell your last name, please.
Steve Holmes, Hoomes.
Mr. Holmes, where are you employed?
Florida Fish and Wildlife,
And how long have you been doing that?
almost 30 years.
Okay. And what do you do for Fish and Wildlife?
I'm an officer assigned in Santa Rosa County.
Okay, let me take you to October 19th of 2017. Did the Pensacola Police Department request your assistance?
Yes, I did.
For what?
They asked us to bring a small boat and a utility vehicle, ATV, to assist them with a search warrant.
And what was the area you were to search?
That morning we were briefed that it was an area off of Britt Road.
Where did the briefing take place?
It was at a church in Cantonment. I'm not sure
Okay.
the exact name of it.
Do you know approximately what time the briefing took place?
Yes, it was early that morning, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
And what were you to be looking for at the property off Britt Road?
And we were looking for a body.
How many people or agencies were out there on the 19th?
There were, including myself, 3 officers from our agency. There were officers from Pensacola Police Department, Escambia County Sheriff's Office, and there was a team of search and rescue personnel that had cadaver dogs at this location.
Do you remember if FDLE was out there as well?
Initially, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't remember.
But at least Fish and Wildlife, Pensacola Police Department, Sheriff's Office, and Search and Rescue.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And after you had the briefing, did everyone go out to the property on Britt Road?
Yes, we caravan from the church to that property.
Okay. And then once you got out to the property, describe what everyone did that you saw.
Initially, the search and rescue teams, they organized themselves with their dogs and they went out in separate teams and searched the properties. There were some personnel, I'm not sure what agency they were with, whether PPD or whatever, searching a barn on the property. We were tasked with launching a small boat into a pond that was located on the property. One of our officers got on the boat with a dog handler and a cadaver dog, and they searched the pond, which was crystal clear, and didn't take them very long to search the pond.
Okay. And then were there other individuals that were walking the property?
Yes.
Was anything found initially?
No.
Okay. Was something found eventually?
I'm sorry?
Was something found eventually?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. About how long into the search was the body found?
It was around lunchtime.
Okay.
So noon, 4 hours, I would guess, 4 to 5 hours.
And describe, describe the circumstances of how something was discovered.
Okay. Lieutenant McCoy with PPD, our officers, we kind of held back because we didn't know if I'd interfere with the dogs. And he finally came to us and asked us to help him with the search. So we went to the south side of the property, and there was a large pile of limbs that were freshly cut back there. It looked like they were in like a burn pile. So we searched that. When we were going to that location, we saw a road on the west side of the property, like a little road that had been mowed recently, which kind of piqued our interest. After we searched the debris pile, we found nothing. Brought cadaver dogs over there. We went back to the barn, and me and 2 other Fish and Wildlife officers, we decided to walk down the fence line where we'd seen this area. We were walking down this fence line. I saw some branches that were piled up on the edge of the woods, and they were fresh, about the same age as the ones that were on the property. So I told him to hold up, let's see what this is. I started pulling them away, and underneath it, I found it was a pile of potting soil and concrete. And I noticed a small metal grommet from a tarp on the ground. Officer Petty, who was with me, he lifted a piece of the concrete up, and when he did, he uncovered just a bunch of maggots. He put it back down, and then I looked to the right probably a couple of feet, and I saw a portion of a human skull that was exposed from the ground.
And then at that point, what did you do?
At that point, we backed out, notified the authorities that we had located a body, and they came and put crime scene tape up, and that basically ended our involvement.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
All right, Mr. John DeRoss is going to ask you questions. If it's just yes or no, answer yes or no, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you. Went to this pile in the middle of the property, which was clearly kind of set up pile of debris. It looks like maybe to burn in the future. Is that correct?
Yes.
On the way to that, you clearly saw an area that on the other side of the property that looked like a mowed strip or road. Is that what you're describing for the jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so not on the Britt property, just off the Britt property.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And when you got back to the barn, you thought to yourself, well, we should just go check that out, correct?
That's correct.
And when you got over, how far from the barn is it to where this little mowed strip was on the other side of the fence, approximately?
From the barn, because the fence, you have to go out and come around. So it was probably
Okay.
50 yards from where the fence starts
To the barn.
to that trail.
Okay. And the limbs, you could see the limbs from the Britt property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said they were freshly cut. Is that because the ends of them were kind of white looking? Is that the inside of the wood had not turned gray?
That and the leaves weren't completely brown. They
Okay.
were dried, but they weren't brown.
And as soon as you and whoever was with you removed some of the limbs, clearly you had no problem seeing any, I think you described it as what looked like potting soil and concrete, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, once the limbs were gone, that was very obvious to you, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. And it sounds like that, and I may have been mistaken here, but while one officer was moving some concrete, you looked over and saw a skull exposed above ground, correct? It was just under the kind of the limbs.
Yes, it was a little bit further back in the edge of the woods, but he picked up the concrete, put it back down. Then I looked to my right. I was just looking at that area is whenever I saw a portion of a skull that was exposed.
I have one moment. No further questions.
Ms. Jensen,
No further questions.
is he completely free?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. John Barosser,
Yes, Your Honor.
you're completely released, but don't discuss your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jensen,
State calls Taryn Emsweiler. Emsweiler.
is she your witness? Your witness? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Have a seat. Pull on up to the microphone. And state your name and spell your first and last name.
My name is Taryn Emsweiler, TarynEmsweiler.
Ms. Emsweiler, where are you employed?
I'm employed with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the Pensacola Regional Operations Center.
What do you do for FDLE?
I'm a crime laboratory analyst in the crime scene section.
And what education do you have?
I have a bachelor's of psychology, a bachelor's of science in psychology with a minor in anthropology and a master's in forensic science.
I'm going to direct your attention to October 19th of 2017. Were you called out to 2201 Britt Road?
Yes, I was.
And for what purpose?
I was called to assist Pensacola Police Department in searching for a missing individual.
Approximately what time did you arrive on Britt Road?
Around 8:40 a.m.
And did you take photographs or were photographs taken of the Britt Road property just kind of overall?
Yes.
Just for the record, I showed these to Mr. Barry Barosset on our lunch break.
Numbers the same.
44 through 59.
No objection.
Okay.
I can admit them.
Yes.
Okay. Judge, this time without objection from the defense, the state would move in states 44 through 59.
They're received without objection.
Now, at some point, a disturbance or an area of interest was found. Do you know approximately when that happened after you got there?
It was shortly before 12:20 p.m.
And were human remains located?
Yes.
Okay. Were photos taken of that location as well as the recovery of those remains?
Yes, they were.
Judge, and again, for the record, I showed these to Mr. Barosset at lunch.
6375. No objection.
All right, received without objection, 60 through 75.
Judge, at this time, I'm sorry.
You finish your sentence.
I'm
then I'll-
sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I would ask to publish 44 through 75.
Let me see counsel at the bench of the court reporter for a second. You can go ahead and put those up there. All right, Ms. Jensen, yes, you may publish.
All right, Ms. Ensweiler, I am showing you State's Exhibit number 44. This is going to be awkward because you're going to have to turn behind you, but talk in the microphone.
You can do it, that microphone bends, so you can pull it to you. You can't, yes, it bends, you can't extract it, but you can pull it towards you. Okay.
This is State's 44. What does this photo show?
This is a photograph of the trailer on the property at 2201 Britt Road. This is the south side of the trailer.
This is State's Exhibit 45.
This is a photograph of the kitchen inside the trailer.
State's Exhibit 46.
Photograph of the living room area inside the trailer.
State's Exhibit 47.
This is a photograph of the hallway in the trailer. It ran along the north side.
This is State's Exhibit 48.
This is a photograph of the north side and east side of the red barn that was on the property.
This is State's 49.
This is a photograph of the stables on the east side of the barn.
State's Exhibit 50.
A photograph of the east side of the barn looking straight at it.
And this was this like some type of corral or something over here?
Yes, there were several fenced-in areas. So I believe this was part of a fenced-in area that was on the property.
This is State's 51.
This is a door that led into a small tool room, which was on the bottom floor of the barn.
Small pool room?
Yes, a tool room.
Oh, tool, I'm sorry.
This is State's 52.
This would be the north wall of the tool room.
And did you do anything with these garments right here?
Yes, I searched this room with luminol, which is a search tool for suspected blood, and luminescence showed up on the yellow rain jacket, so I collected it as an item of evidence.
This is State's Exhibit 53.
This is one of the stables in the barn,
State's 54.
and then a photograph of the interior of the stable.
State's 55.
Another photograph of one of the stables in the barn.
State's 56.
This is a photograph of the south side of the barn.
State's 57.
And this is the south side and west side of the barn.
State's 58.
So there's an opening that was on the north side of the barn in between the two sets of stables.
State's 59.
These are items that were located inside the opening that we just saw in the previous photograph. And I collected these items as items of evidence.
And what is this right here?
I believe those were possibly straps for a hammock.
This is State 60. What does this show?
This is a photograph facing south showing the west side of the barn.
And is this a law enforcement personnel over here?
Yes, it is.
This is State's Exhibit 61.
So this is a photograph. You can see the west side of the barn, and then there's a fence that ran along the west side of the property.
This is State's Exhibit 62.
Another close-up photograph of the fence along the west side of the property, and the remains were located in the wooded area over here.
This is State 63.
So a close-up photograph of where the remains were located. These pieces right here were concrete.
State 65.
Another photograph of the remains in the wooded area and the pieces of concrete.
Sorry, what was that 64 by?
64.
Thank you.
This is State 65.
This is a photograph taken from the west side of the fence on the property facing north.
Do you need me to take that light down? I wanted Ms. Jensen to be able to see, but it's more important that you see, so
Well, thanks.
I'll just put it like that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's again, estate 65.
So this is a photograph taken from the west side of the fence that ran along the west side of the property, and this is looking facing north.
And did the end of the fence stop right about here?
Yeah, right about there, you were able to walk around to enter this area.
And then the trailer would have been over here to the right.
Yes, the trailer would have been located over in this area.
This is State's Exhibit 66.
This is a close-up of the remains. You can see items, or you can see pieces of concrete, some soil, and then this beige over here is the skull.
State 67.
Another closer-up photograph, concrete, soil, and this beige part is the skull.
State 68.
Another photograph of the remains. This is after some of the pieces of concrete have been pulled back. You can see a dark covering that was also in the area. This was a hammock. And then you can see the skull, and this brown is suspected hair.
And is this after the limbs and some debris on top were removed?
Yes, we cleared brushes and shrubs and larger items from the area to gain better access to the remains.
This is State 69.
This is an overall photograph after a lot of the area had been cleared.
State 70.
This is a photograph of the remains. More of the area have been cleared and pieces of concrete have been pulled back.
State 71.
This is a photograph of the remains after the pieces of concrete have been removed. The skull is up here with suspected hair, and then this dark blue item is the hammock.
State 72.
Closer photograph of the skull. You can start to see a t-shirt, and the hammock has been pulled back some.
This is State 73.
This is a photograph of a necklace that was located around what essentially would be the neck. It was located right below the skull.
This is State 74.
It's a photograph of the brand of hammock that it was. So this is actually upside down. It was ENO.
This is State 75.
It's a photograph of the remains after the hammock has been removed.
Were those remains later identified as Taylor Wright?
Yes, they were.
And did you attend the autopsy of Taylor Wright the next day?
Yes, I did.
During the course of the autopsy, were you provided with a projectile from her skull?
I was informed that there was most likely a projectile inside the skull. However, I collected it a few days later after they took it out on October 24th.
Okay. And did you turn the projectile into evidence?
Yes, I did.
As which FDLE exhibit number?
Do you mind if I look at my notes?
Please.
It was submitted as FDLE item number 18.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are all my questions.
All right, Mr. Barry Ross is going to ask you questions, and if they're just yes or no, answer yes or no, please.
Good afternoon, Ms. Anzuela.
Good
How are
afternoon.
you?
I'm good.
How many items of evidence did you collect from Brett Lane or Brett Road?
I'll have to look at my notes,
Okay,
count them all.
probably got a list or something, don't you?
11 items.
11 items from Britt Lane?
Yes.
Okay. And one of those items you said was, we saw picture number 52 of a rain jacket, was yellow, I
That's
believe.
correct.
Exhibit 52, state exhibit. Did you do any tests on that?
I did test areas of it with phenolphthalein, which is a presumptive test for suspected blood.
And what were the results?
There was an area on the back of it that gave positive results and an area on the sleeve that gave negative results.
And that was a presumptive test.
Yes,
Did you ever do a further test to determine whether it was actually blood?
I do not have that capability.
Okay. Did you do anything to attempt to match any of those items with anything else, any DNA or anything?
I submitted the rain jacket to biology for further examination.
But you did not conduct any further examination.
Not personally, no.
Did you collect another exhibit that you gave a presumptive test for blood as well?
I did test something at the scene that tested negative, so I did not collect it.
What was that, a stick?
Yes, it was a small wooden stick that was from the wooded area, maybe like a small tree branch.
But it was negative, is that correct?
That's correct.
You took photographs of the entire area, is that correct?
Yes,
Took photographs inside the trailer as well?
yes.
Let's see. Let's see here. May I have a moment? I'd like to show you a few exhibits if I could. My last one was 5, was it not? The photographs that the state showed you, those weren't all the photographs that you took, were they?
That's correct.
Okay, that's good. I approach the witness, Your Honor.
Of course, but you want to take a moment.
I'll get it just a second.
Okay.
I'll get it. I'd like to show you some photos that have been marked for Defense Exhibit 6. Thank you. You don't have to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. This kind of small. If you look at those photographs, do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Are they fair and accurate representations of what they purport to be?
Yes, they are.
Are they photographs that were taken by you?
They were taken by my assistant, Mary Martelli, under my direction.
At this time, I'd like to offer those exhibits into evidence. 5, 6, 7, 8, and I believe it was 9. Is that correct?
Okay, 5 has already been received, so.
Oh, excuse me, 6, 7, 8, 9.
6, 7, 8, and 9.
May I just look at them?
Yes.
No objection.
All right, received is defense 6, 7, 8,
9.
Okay, if you could, would you begin with 6, if you'd hold that up, please? And would you tell the jury what that's a photograph of?
This is a photograph of the bedroom that was at the end of the hallway in the trailer.
Okay. And in the closet, do you observe any type of mixtures or concrete or bags of stuff?
Yes, there's a bag of possible quick concrete or mortar.
Okay, and that is number 6. Would you go to number 7, please?
Number 7 is a photograph of the bathroom that was in the trailer.
And was there some construction work being done there?
Yes, it appeared so.
Okay. And that's the photograph of the, I think it was, it's a little hard to see from here, but isn't it photographs of cans of material and stuff like that?
Yes, there's several buckets, some closed, some open.
Okay, we'd go to number 8, please. Defense exhibit number 8. Okay, and would you describe to the jury what that's a photograph of and where it was taken?
This was another photograph that was taken in the bedroom that was at the end of the hallway. And there are several bags of concrete style material.
Okay. And defense exhibit number 9.
This is another photograph that was taken in the master bedroom, just a close-up of those bags, the same as the last photo.
May I have a word with Ms. Jensen?
Folks, I didn't tell you this earlier, but you may understand, you'll get all the exhibits to take back with you and have them to look at.
What other, did you participate in any other searches?
I just searched the property.
The property? Okay. May I have a second? Thank you. No further questions.
All right, Ms. Jensen.
And thank you, Ms. Jensen.
Those bags that you keep referring to as concrete, it's Versabond mortar or something to that effect, isn't it?
One of them is, yes.
Okay, and what's the other one?
The other one says quick set light setting joint compound.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is she completely free?
Yes.
She was subpoenaed by us, but I think we'll excuse as well.
All right, you're completely free. Don't discuss your testimony, okay? Thank you. All right, call your next witness.
State calls Lionel Martinez.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, have a seat. Pull up to the microphone. State your name and spell your first and last name.
Lionel Martinez Jr., Martinez.
Spell your first name for me.
Lionil.
You may inquire.
Mr. Martinez, where are you employed?
I'm employed with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the sheriff's office?
I am an investigator in Major Crimes Division.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement for 22 years.
Let me take you to October of 2017. Were you assigned to assist the Pensacola Police Department with a missing person?
Yes,
And as part of that assistance, did you respond to Britt Road on October 19th, 2017?
yes,
Were you present when human remains were found?
yes,
And did you get close enough to see any substance or material on the remains?
yes.
Okay. What'd you see?
It was a mound of concrete and potting soil.
After October 19th, did you go into any hardware type store?
Yes,
Where did you go?
I went to the Home Depot on West 9 Mile Road.
And do you know about how close or how far that Home Depot is to the Britt Road location?
It's about 15 minutes.
And were you able to obtain anything relevant at the Home Depot on 9 Mile Road?
Yes,
What'd you find?
I was able to obtain video from the store security system and a receipt.
I don't have any objection. It's a receipt video, correct?
Judge, without objection from the defense, the state would move in States 76, which is a receipt from Home Depot. State 77, which is the video surveillance from Home Depot. States 78 through 86, which are photographs from Home Depot.
All right, those will be received as 76 through 86 as described.
And permission to publish the video surveillance?
You may. Can you see or do I need to hit?
Okay, thank you. And what do we see of interest here?
This is a black Jeep Wrangler pulling into the parking lot.
Let us know when we see something.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, you will see Ashley McArthur, an employee worker from Home Depot, coming back to the Seth Shell account.
Since there's not a timestamp, do you remember the date and time of this? How about if I show you the receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if I could approach with state 76.
You can, may.
It is September 9th, 2017 at 1:07 PM. Here's another angle. You can see the contents of the cart. Two bags of potting soil and the bags of cement
And is that Ms. McArthur to your left?
right here. And she pays with cash. And then as she's exiting, she discards paperwork right in there. And then they are going back to the direction where the black Jeep was parked.
When you got a copy of the receipt of the items purchased September 9th, 2017 at 1:07 PM, did you then go take photos of each of those items from the receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Judge, states 78 through 86 have been omitted, if I could just publish for the jury.
Sure.
This is states 78. What is this?
This is the 50-pound bag of Sackcrete fast set concrete mix.
This is state 79. Oh, same thing. So was that just the,
Yes, ma'am. The top part is the label and underneath is where the item is located.
gotcha. This is states 80.
That is the label for the concrete, or excuse me, the topsoil.
And then is this just a picture of that topsoil? This is states 81.
Yes, ma'am.
This is states 82.
Again, the label for the potting soil.
And then is that a photo of the potting soil in states 83?
Yes,
This is states 84.
that's the 40-pound bag of Sackcrete.
And then below it is a bag.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's states 85 for the record. This is states 86, which is just a close-up of states 85. What does that say?
It gives the set time and also the weight of the package.
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
All right. Is it Mr. John Barossett on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Is he free to go? Or Ms. Jensen, I guess they didn't have questions. You don't have any more? Is he free, completely free?
Yes.
And he's completely free. So just don't discuss your testimony. Thank
ma'am.
you. All right, Ms. Jensen, call your next witness.
2 seconds, please.
Okay.
State House Devontae Sims.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Have a seat. Pull on up to that microphone. Spell your name first and last, please.
DEVONTSIMS.
You're Devontae Sims.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You may inquire. Thank you. Mr. Sims, what is your date of birth?
8/27/92.
Say that again for me.
8/27/92.
Back in September of 2017, where did you work?
Home Depot.
Do you still work there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you do for Home Depot?
Work in the millworks and the service desk.
Let me take you back to September 9th of 2017. Do you remember helping a lady with concrete?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been interviewed on numerous occasions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how did you first come into contact with this lady?
I was walking, sorry, I was walking through the store and asked her, did she need help?
And where was she when you first saw her?
She was near my department in the middle of the store.
And when you asked her if she needed help, what was she looking at or what was she doing at that point?
She was looking for, well, she was walking towards the concrete and I asked her, did she need help? She said yes. And I was asking her what she was using what she had wanted to get and what she was using it for.
Okay. And what was she looking for?
Type of concrete.
What type of concrete?
She just said she was, sorry,
Okay.
like a fast setting concrete.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
A fast setting concrete.
Thank you. Are there different types?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what are the different types?
There's a regular fast setting concrete that cures in about 30 minutes. And then there's just a regular concrete that you would use for a driveway.
And which one did she want?
The fast setting.
And at that point, did she have anything else in her cart?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
She had 2 bags of potting soil.
And did you help her with the concrete?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do?
I loaded it into the cart and then walked her up to self-checkout to check out.
And after she checked out, did you walk her to her Jeep?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And once you got to her Jeep, what did you do?
Well, we started talking about the Jeep.
Do you remember what color it was?
It was a black Jeep.
Okay.
And then I asked her where she wanted it at.
Where she wanted the what?
The materials that she bought. I asked her if she wanted it in the trunk. She said no. I asked her if she wanted it in the back seat. She also said no. I asked her if she wanted it in the front. She said yes.
Okay. And then did you put the concrete in the front seat?
Yes, ma'am. I put the 2 bags of concrete on the floorboard and the 2 bags of potting soil on the seat.
Was this lady by herself?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask her what she was doing with the concrete?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
She said that she was making a flower bed.
Are you familiar with VersaBond mortar?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
That is used for tile.
And is it textured or not textured?
It's not textured.
And what about quick set light joint setting?
I'm not sure what that is, but
Okay.
I think what I was supposed to say is fast setting, because I think it's supposed to say fast setting on there.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Mr. John Barros that's going to ask you some questions, and if it's just yes or no, answer yes or no.
Okay, yes, sir.
Can I please have State Exhibit 76 and 78 through 86? There's a photograph, I think it's 78 through 86. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
When you spoke to this woman, as you just told the jury, it wasn't that she was just looking for fast-setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, she indicated to you a project she was working on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was she talking about building or working on a planter, something for flowers?
Yes, sir.
She mentioned something about a sidewalk as well. Do you remember anything about sidewalk?
No, sir.
Nothing about sidewalk? Okay. Now, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked or actually introduced into evidence. It states 76 and then states 78 all the way through 86. Just take a moment to look at those and see. 76 is a receipt that's been entered as a receipt from Home Depot. And then the photographs are the items that were purchased that correspond to the receipt. So take a moment to look over that. Do those photographs appear to be the items that you, depict the items that you helped this woman with?
Yes, sir.
And the receipt appeared to be the purchase for those items?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about first the concrete material. As the receipt shows and the photograph shows, this woman purchased 2 different types of concrete material, correct?
Yes, sir.
And each of those had their own specific purpose, correct?
Yes, sir.
For different types of projects, right?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that was purchased was, I think you said, a fast setting concrete,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, there are really at Home Depot 3 types of concrete. There's regular setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's fast setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's actually something called rapid setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
May seem obvious, but rapid setting concrete is the fastest, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And that was not purchased by this woman, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, this woman also purchased something called patcher concrete, P-A-T-C-H-E-R concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which is, again, different than the fast setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir.
Used for a different purpose, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the patcher concrete is substantially more expensive than just buying a regular bag of like fast setting concrete, correct?
Yes, sir. Like a
What?
few dollars.
Wouldn't it like 3 to 4 times more expensive? Like a bag of concrete may run you, was these days, $3.50, $4?
Regular bag, yes, sir.
And then this patcher's close to 20 something dollars, correct?
Give or take a few dollars.
Okay. These bags of concrete are, you look like you're in pretty good shape.
Yes, sir.
These bags of concrete are pretty heavy, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Especially if, I went out to Home Depot recently. They'll keep those things down low, okay? And so you're having to bend over to pick up, one of those bags is 50 pounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
The other bag's 40 pounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Even for you, they're heavy, aren't they? Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you did the loading of those bags into the cart, correct?
Yes, sir.
You did the loading of those bags into the Jeep, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, it sounds like before you met this woman, that there were some other materials in the cart, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it maybe the photographs of receipt help you remember there was some potting soil in the cart, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the brand that was purchased by this woman, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Keep this one out. The brand of potting mix that was purchased by this woman was Miracle Grow, correct?
Yes, sir.
Clearly, not saying potting soil's real expensive, but clearly one of the more expensive brands that y'all carry at Home Depot, correct?
Yes, sir.
And certainly there's store brands or lower brands than that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the other item purchased was not the other dirt type substance that was purchased was not the same thing as potting soil. It was like a lawn or topsoil, correct?
Yes, sir.
So two different types of dirt material, correct?
Yes, sir.
Again, used for kind of each for its own little project, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the lawn soil purchased by this woman, what brand was that?
It was Scott's.
Again, one of y'all more expensive brands at Home Depot, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's certainly lower costing brands, correct?
Yes, sir.
One moment. No further questions.
Ms. Jensen?
Is the concrete that this lady purchased, is it textured?
No, ma'am. It's like fine dust.
Is it like rocky?
No, ma'am.
What's it set?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Sims, do you remember coming down to the state attorney's office and talking to myself and my legal assistant?
Yes, ma'am.
And you looked at a photograph of some concrete, did you not?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been submitted as State's Exhibit 67.
Can you just give, so, I know it's been admitted, but just so he sees it.
Can we approach on this briefly?
Council Porter, please mute the live screen.
Okay, Mr. Sims.
Wait.
Do you remember coming down to my office and you looked at a picture?
Yes,
And I'm
ma'am.
going to show you what's been previously admitted as State's Exhibit 67. Do you remember looking at that concrete type material?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you not say that that material was consistent?
Excuse me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Did you not say that the material was consistent with the concrete that this lady bought?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you also say that the Miracle Grow, I believe, had little white pieces or pebbles or something in it consistent with that soil?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Should have made a statement for 3 minutes on the full photograph there.
Okay. We've already. Is he completely free?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he completely
Yes,
free? You are completely free? All right, I thought you might flash me that smile. All right, you better get out of the building quickly before they think of something. Don't discuss your testimony. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we take a short comfort break and then we'll come back and wrap it up. Leave your notepads and pencils.
Objecting during Johnson, so I was just going to object to the form of the question.
And Mr. John Barasa, you probably don't need to approach on a point that we could talk about after the fact.
I apologize.
Okay. But let's talk about something else for a minute. Obviously, we're gaining some speed and momentum, which is good news. We may have some witnesses that may take a little longer. I want to try to see how far we can get today within reason. let me talk to you about what's coming across my computer is updated information about this hurricane. And the reason it does is because that's one of my duties here is sort of the judge on, when I say judge on hurricanes, just the judge that's sort of the emergency, chair of emergency management group. So what I read in the most recent update was alarming. It has missed, and I don't want it to hit the islands. There was just hope that it would kind of break the thing up. But it's missed most of the islands, and now they're showing that it's probably going to be coming in at the center of the state, a category 3 or higher. This is just what I've received across the computer. Then go into the Gulf, potentially could go north, more northerly, and just break up in the northern part of Florida or Georgia. But this, again, is just, I get kind of an emergency, state emergency announcement, very uncertain. But, I mean, this morning it was saying might glance off of an hour more going in through the center of Florida.
Through Orlando.
Yes, ish. Looks like Orlando, Tampa, ish. The question is the Gulf, of course, for all of us. So let me just see where I've got it here. The one view I have shows like Sunday at 8, it's in the Gulf. It could go north. We all know that there's just tracking here. But my point is, and my thought, just for y'all to think about, what I would typically say that we're going to do is, even if we got done at 2 or 3 tomorrow, we would talk jury instructions and come back Friday morning and do closing. We just have to watch what's happening, because I know these folks are watching it too. And even though there's not a chance it's going to be in Pensacola on Friday, it may be close to closing in on the state of Florida. That may induce some anxiety among the jurors that they need to be doing things. So I am putting it out there for y'all to think about. We're going to get more information. Every time there's an update, we're going to have more information. And it depends on what time we end anyway. But we have to keep that in mind. And that was another reason I was trying to make sure we stayed on track. But now I'm concerned that even on Friday, they're going to be anxious. So it's just something to think about. We don't know enough, but if we got to a point, I mean, where we could do it tomorrow night, we just have to see where we are, because there is the counterbalance. Yes, the better world for the attorneys and probably the jury, and definitely in a normal situation, is they come in fresh Friday morning. You've had time to think about your closing. You do your best jobs. They are rested and they listen their best and hopefully make their best decision. But I don't know at what point they feel anxious. I'm feeling anxious, but I'm the one watching the screen, and I'm the one that's sort of the court contact on this stuff. I'm just putting it out there for y'all to be aware of. I mean, I know you're aware there's something out there, but just that it's, I mean, you're not looking at your computer like I am mine, so.
Well, Judge, if Mr. Barasa doesn't have his witnesses coming till 1 tomorrow, I mean, I don't think we could finish his case. I will probably have rebuttal.
Right.
I mean, I'm anticipating, I think I know what they're going to put in their case, so I'm going to have rebuttal.
Well, I wasn't sure how far we would get today. I thought that if we got far enough, maybe there are a couple of witnesses Mr. Barasa could have. I know that the chiropractor may not be flexible, so to speak.
He may be, because he's usually closed down on Thursday, and I'm going to talk to him at 7 o'clock in the morning.
So there might be, we can see how far we get, and there may be some witnesses he could move up before lunch, potentially.
I can get Gary Willis on, number 17, and Megan Knox is on the way.
Okay.
For sure, because now she's here.
What about Jennifer Wilkerson?
She's at the LE, and I believe I'm sure they're closed.
Okay. Can you call Jeff Brown or no today? even though it's not in the order you might. I mean, y'all are now back on, I feel like we're back on track, but I've added this thing that the hurricane potential problem is what's out there now.
I mean, Judge, I would rather not.
Okay.
I mean, I have the order for a reason.
I understand you do. I'm just,
OCD, so, I mean, I understand, but I feel like we picked up a significant amount of speed, and if I could get through 17 and 18, 19 is not going to be long at all because there's no DNA in this case, and I think the defense will stipulate to her qualifications, so I won't have to go through, qualifying her as an expert. They'll just stipulate. Jeff Brown is going to probably take some time because it involves cell phone downloads. And then Spears' cell tower records, I don't think she will be too long.
What I'll do then, when I talk to Dr. Roberts, I'll ask him how long it takes for him to get here and maybe to set him on call.
yeah, that
If
would
I
be
could
good.
do that.
That would be good to have him because if we could do that at least.
He'd
And
be right a little bit longer than the rest of them. The rest of them are going to be there.
okay.
She's already called several guards. If we would.
Look, I would be delighted if it's shifted obviously further to the east and it's moving more out in the Atlantic by tomorrow morning and there's less concern, but I'm just making you aware of it. I'm going to give y'all a 5-minute break, and if we're good, we'll talk before we part today on that issue about we can talk about it after the jury's released about Miss Ritchie and her testimony, okay? All right, everybody gets a quick 5 minutes. All right, for the record, defendant is present with counsel, assistant state attorney is present. We didn't forget about you. We had some logistical things we're taking care of. Just to give you an idea of what we're doing, we've got 2 witnesses. I don't think I promised you would walk out no later than 6:30 and I will keep my promise, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. We're going to do 2 more witnesses and then we're going to break for the night. Okay? Ms. Jensen, call your next witness.
Carrie Willis.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, come on up, have a seat. Pull up to the microphone, state your name and spell your first and last name.
Carrie Willis. First name is Kerrie. Last name is Willis, Willis.
You may inquire.
Ms. Willis, where are you employed?
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the sheriff's office?
I'm a crime scene technician.
How long have you been doing that?
Approximately 3 years.
And what are your duties as a crime scene technician?
I respond to crime scenes where I document, collect, and process evidence.
Let me take you to October of 2017. Did you respond to Pensacola Automatic Amusement?
Yes,
On what date?
it was October 17th.
Do you have your report in front of you?
I do.
Can you check the date, please?
October 19th.
And what was the address?
It was 2414 North Pace Boulevard.
And did you take some pictures of the building as well as some personal belongings inside?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I showed these to Mr. Barossa at lunch, and it's my understanding there's no objection.
No objection.
So at this time, the state would move 87 through 95 into evidence.
That will be received as states 87 and 95.
Did you also respond to 3961 Raintree Drive?
Yes,
And on what date?
that was, may I refer to my report?
Sure.
Tuesday, October 24th, 2017.
Okay. And did you take photos of the home at Raintree?
Yes,
Judge, and again, I showed these photographs to Mr. Barossa on lunch break. And I would move into evidence states 96 through 126.
It'll be received without objection, 96 to 126.
enter. Need it, just push this button. And I would like to publish for the jury, please.
You may publish.
This is State's Exhibit 87. What is this showing?
This is the north side of the Pensacola Automatic Amusement Building, and that's the front door.
This is State's Exhibit 88.
This is a photograph of just walking into the building and just showing miscellaneous items and arcade games.
This is State's Exhibit 89.
This is an area in the northeast corner of the building, and it is personal effects, furniture, a safe, and other miscellaneous items.
This is State's Exhibit 90.
This is a firearm case, and it is a model SIS Ultra.
This is State's Exhibit 91.
This is that same firearm case. Inside is a magazine with a blue Kimber brand gun lock, and there's also a set of keys with it.
This is State's Exhibit 92.
This is a view into a blue and white hamper that has miscellaneous items, including a knife, some live ammo, a deck of cards, some electronic items, and some IDs.
This is State's Exhibit number 93.
This is a close-up photograph of an ID, which you saw in the previous photo for Jacksonville, North Carolina Police Department for Taylor Wright.
This is State's Exhibit number 94.
This is a Redhead brand safe that was brought to the sheriff's office from the warehouse.
This is State's 95.
And this is a photograph of the inside of that safe.
This is State's 96.
This is a photograph of the exterior of the residence on the east side.
This is State's 97.
This is a photograph looking from the porch into the residence, into the foyer area.
State's 98.
This is a photograph of a closet that is to your right as soon as you walk into the residence.
State's 99.
This is a photograph of the living room area.
State's 100.
This is a photograph walking into the kitchen from the foyer area.
State's 101.
This is just another shot of the kitchen area, and I'm panning over to the left.
State's 102.
This is an overall photograph of a bookcase.
State's 103.
This is a mid-range photograph of the bookcase of the top left corner.
State's 104.
This is a close-up photograph of a case for a 357 mag firearm.
State's 105.
This is a photograph of that same case showing that it's a Ruger.
106.
This is the photograph of the case opened, revealing that it's empty.
State's 107.
This is miscellaneous items on the kitchen table.
108.
This is a photograph of the inside of the Whitney bank bag that was on the kitchen table.
109.
Those are 2 cartridge casings that are inside of that bank bag.
110.
Those same cartridge casings, it's a close-up photo of a Hornady 38 Special.
111.
This is a photograph of the kitchen table, close-up of miscellaneous items, including a paddle. There's a bank statement.
112.
This is a close-up photograph of that bank statement.
113.
This is a close-up photograph of a blue electronic item, as well as 3 live rounds of ammunition.
114.
This is a closer-up photo of those same 3 live rounds.
115.
And this is a close-up of the head stamp of one of those 3 live rounds, showing that it's a Hornady 38 Special.
116.
This is a corner of the room in a room labeled Room 1, and it's showing miscellaneous items and multiple firearms in the corner.
117,
This is a drawer out of the nightstand of that same room.
118,
This is a photograph of the view walking out of the residence into the garage.
119,
This is an overall view of the garage.
120,
The same, another overall view of the garage.
121,
This is a photograph of a shelf which had multiple rounds of ammunition on it.
122,
This is a bag that had multiple rounds of ammunition in it.
123,
This is a utility shelf. This is the top drawer, miscellaneous items. There's a couple of ammunition rounds on top of it. There's a holster to the right on the top drawer.
124,
This is a Glock firearm case that was located in the garage.
125,
These are items that were pulled from a plastic bag, and they're gun safety guides, etc.
126,
This is a certificate from the NRA for Ashley Ritchie Britt for a basic pistol course.
those are my questions. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Mr. John Barros, it's going to ask you some questions, and if they're just yes or no, answer yes or no, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
The search you did of the business called Pensacola Automatic Amusement at 2414 Pace Boulevard, in looking at your report, was that search actually on October 20th, 2017? Can you double check that?
It is the 19th.
It was the 19th.
Yes.
Okay. I have a report that says the 20th.
Yes, I have a date on here that says the 19th, and then there's just a typo of the 20th. But
Okay.
my photo marker says the 19th.
Thank you for that clarification. You were not the only crime scene technician at that property, correct?
Correct.
I believe crime scene technician Dill was with you.
Yes, sir.
Was anybody else out there with y'all?
We had evidence technicians come out later.
Okay. And fair to say you were at the business on Pace Boulevard from, according to your report, 1348 to 1808?
Yes,
All right. How many, just for us, approximately how many hours were you out there?
about 4.5 hours.
And the state introduced into evidence states exhibits 87 through 95 that we just went through. And looking at your report, it looks like you took 628 photos at Pensacola Automatic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jury how many items of evidence or potential evidence did you collect out there? Do you have them numbered?
I have a laundry list. I would say 200 something items, if I had to guess.
Okay. You subsequently testified that you searched the residence on Raintree Drive on October 24th, 2017, correct?
Yes.
And did you have people assist you or help you in that search as well?
Yes.
Okay, and just tell us a little bit about that. You don't have to give us their names, but who was out there?
Basically, I was directed by investigations to come to that residence for the search warrant, so they were there.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were aware that this residence had been searched a couple days prior by the Pensacola Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any knowledge when they searched it, do you have any knowledge if that's why the house was a mess because of the search?
I was not directly told that.
Okay. But based on your experience, did it clearly look like the house had been searched before you got there?
Yes.
And according to your report, you were at that residence from about 1307 to 1518, so a little over 2 hours. And again, the state introduced into evidence States Exhibit 96 through 126 photos. You took about 500 photos of the residence, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would those be photos inside and outside of the residence?
There were a few outside, but mostly they were inside.
And can you tell the jury approximately how many items of evidence you collected from the residence approximately?
I believe I collected around 20 to 25 items from the residents.
You were shown, sorry, I missed the exhibit number, but there were some photographs up there from the residence of some rounds of 38s. You remember those?
Yes, sir.
There were 3 of them, that I believe, correct?
Yes.
Now, you took those items back and did some additional work on them, on those 38 rounds, correct?
Yes.
Now maybe I'm not using the right word, but you processed them for fingerprints, correct?
Yes.
With negative results, correct?
Yes.
That means you didn't find any fingerprints on them.
Correct.
May I have one moment? No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Jensen,
Nothing further, Your Honor.
is she completely free?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. John,
Yes, ma'am.
completely free, just don't discuss your testimony, okay?
Thank
And
you.
leave any exhibits up there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Jensen, call your next witness and last witness of the day.
Megan Knotts.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, have a seat. Pull up to the microphone, state your name and spell your last name, please.
Megan Knotts, Knotts.
You may inquire.
Where are you employed?
I am currently employed with the Attorney General's office in Kentucky as a detective
Where were you previously employed?
at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office in investigations.
And how long have you been in law enforcement total?
I've been a law enforcement officer for about 8.5 years.
Let me direct your attention to October 2017. Did you go to Raintree Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember on what date?
It was on October can I refer to my report?
Sure.
On October the 24th, 2017.
And was there a Ford F-250 that was in the driveway at the time?
Yes.
Were photographs taken of that particular truck?
Yes.
Judge, without objection from the defense, the state would move in states 127, 128, and 129.
Be received as 127 through 129.
Was that truck towed to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And then was it searched there by one of your crime scene techs?
Yes, ma'am. And I believe it was actually, I think I misspoke. It was the 20th of October.
Okay, not the 24th?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And after it was towed to the sheriff's office, was it searched
Yes, ma'am.
and were photographs taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, without objection from the defense, the state moves in 130 through 138.
Received as state 130 through 138.
And may I publish?
You may publish.
This is State's Exhibit number 127. What does it show?
That is the residence on Rain Tree.
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just pull it to you.
That is the McArthur residence on Rain Tree, and the silver truck you see is the F-150 that I'm referring to.
This is State's Exhibit 128. What is it?
That is the Ford F-150 belonging to Ashley and Zach McArthur.
Possible that it's an F-250.
Yes, ma'am.
This is State's 129. What does this show?
This is the truck bed of that same vehicle.
This is now State's Exhibit 130. Is this after it's been moved to the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
This is State's 131. What does this show?
This is the interior of the vehicle inside of the sheriff's office processing bay.
This is State's 132.
And this is the side pocket of that same vehicle.
And what does that appear to be in the side?
That is a live round of ammunition.
This is State's 133. What does this show?
That is the back seat of the same truck.
This is State's 134.
Those are gloves that were recovered from inside of the vehicle.
State's 135.
That is a, just so that you can see it, what I'm referring to, that is a magazine, and inside of the magazine were live rounds of ammunition.
This is State's 134.
That's the same magazine, and it's got the Glock imprint.
State's 137.
That is a 9mm round of ammunition.
And State's 138.
And those were the rounds that were recovered from inside of the magazine.
Did you have the crime scene technician swab various areas of the truck?
Yes,
And was the interior done as well as the exterior?
yes,
Okay. And did you ask the crime scene technician to swab the bullets that were found in the truck?
yes,
And do you know if she collected those gloves?
yes.
Now, did you request GPS information on a black Jeep in this case?
Yes,
And did the GPS company provide you information for September 9th through October 14th?
yes.
Judge, without objection from the defense, I'm going to move in States 151.
All right, which see the State's 150.
Can you tell the jurors how many times between September 9th and October 14th that black Jeep was out at Britt Road? The dates, the times, and how long it was out there?
Yes, ma'am. I'll refer to my report for that.
Sure.
On September the 9th of 2017, that Jeep was at the property at 9:12 a.m. for 2 hours.
Can you go back to what time did it get there?
Let's see.
First column. First column, left
So-
side.
I see it now, 7:11 a.m.
Okay. And how long was it there?
for 2 hours until 9:12 a.m.
Okay. And the next time?
Not September the 9th, 2017 at 1:25 PM for 29 minutes.
Second page.
September the 10th, 2017 at 4:28 PM for 28 minutes.
Right, next page.
September the 13th, 2017 at 11:51 AM for 50 minutes.
All right, next page.
September the 16th, 2017 at 10:33 AM for 11 minutes.
And the next page.
And October the 14th, 2017 at 3:15 PM for 44 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are all my questions.
All right, Mr. Barry Barros is going to ask you questions. If it's just yes or no, answer yes or no.
Good afternoon, Ms. Knapp.
Good afternoon. Good, how are you?
First of all, tell me what searches you participated in. The first one?
The search of the F-250, the search at Ashley McArthur's house on October the 24th.
That was the second search by search warrant there on
Yes.
October the 24th.
Yes, sir.
The third search, but the second one by search warrant, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And also a later search warrant for the DNA.
Okay. During your search on October the 24th of the residence, did you collect some items?
Yes, sir.
How many items did you collect?
I have a list,
Okay.
and it would, I don't know how many exactly.
Okay, you can
number,
refer to
but-
that.
Okay. Would you just want the number, or do you want me to read them all
I want
off?
the number.
Okay. It looks like 17 items thereabouts. There are some flash drives and memory cards.
And that was on October the 24th at Raintree.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And when you searched the 250 truck, what date was that again?
That was on the, I believe it was on the 20th.
October 20th?
Yes, sir, I think so.
And how many items did you collect from the truck?
Seven items, and then there was the forensic evidence.
And when you say forensic evidence, this is a truck that was gone over thoroughly, was it not?
Yes, sir.
And that was because there was some indication that Miss McArthur had been driving the truck on September the 8th.
Yes, sir.
And everything that you collected forensically, was that submitted for analysis?
Yes, sir.
And as far as you know, was there anything submitted for analysis forensically that linked Miss McArthur to the homicide?
No, sir.
Is there anything that you collected on October the 24th that linked Miss McArthur to the homicide?
No, sir.
Were you also there when the white Jeep was searched?
I don't recall. I'm sorry.
Just check something out here. Never mind. when you were here, you were the lead investigator for the Escambia County Sheriff's Department on this investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
As far as physical evidence or forensic evidence, you never found any physical or forensic or trace evidence that linked Ashley McArthur to the homicide.
I did not know, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Jensen?
Ms. Knotts, the truck and the residence were searched approximately 6 weeks after Taylor Wright went missing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, is she free to return to Kentucky?
But she's actually under the defense subpoena, so.
Yes, she is free to leave.
All right, you're free to go. Don't take our exhibits with you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Don't discuss your testimony. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 6:02. Let Ms. Jensen gather those up. Thank you, Ms. Jensen. You know, speaking of gathering, that you'll leave your notepads and pencils, and Parker's going to gather those and secure those for the night. You are my people. I've been trying to take good care of you, but I need it to be a reciprocal relationship. What I mean by that is every day I talk to you about not discussing the case. Every day there's potentially a new microphone up here. And I'm just going to tell you, I personally have joined you in not looking at anything on the internet or on TV. I am checking the newspaper, by the way. I am doing that, but I haven't seen anything on TV. I'm not checking anything. I'm not checking live streams. I'm not doing anything because I'm here with you. This is what matters right here. But I'm going to tell you that my understanding of what's happening is that there are some interviews or commentaries being conducted. And that's why it's so important that you continue to isolate yourself from I'm just telling you what's out there. Even though I haven't seen it myself, this is what I hear. It's so important that you not let anybody talk to you or try to show you a clip or try to do anything, because it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about this case. You're what matters. You're the people that matter. And right now, I don't want you to have, one of the things I talked to you about is wait until all the evidence is in and the closing. So I'm not getting in your heads, but you're supposed to wait till the end and then come to your conclusions. And that's when y'all talk together and hear what each other are thinking. These other people don't matter. You matter. Please continue not to do any research, not to go on the internet in that sense. I mean, if you want to type in your favorite reality TV show and see what's going on, knock yourself out, because I don't think they've worked us into the equation. But if you want to see what's going to happen to the football schedule this weekend, knock yourself out. But please, so important, and I'm counting on you. Okay, I'm relying on y'all. Don't look it up. Don't try to go anywhere. Don't go to Raintree. Don't go to Britt Road. Don't throw my name in. Don't throw the attorneys' names in. Don't try to look at something. Don't let somebody talk to you. It's a long laundry list. So we're back to what can you do? You can go home tonight and rest. If you can convince somebody to cook dinner for you, please send them to my house. It's looking a little thin for my dinner tonight. If they can do something kind for you, that's great. Can y'all do that for me? And for the importance of the trial, for the state, for the defense, so that we have a fair trial. Yes, everybody's committed. Okay. Now let me tell you one more thing, and then I'm going to let y'all get out of here. I'm not sure what we're doing tomorrow. I know we're going to see each other. I'm not sure if we'll finish tomorrow. That's probably unlikely, but it's not completely ruled out. Usually what I like to do is if we finish after a certain period of time, even if it's not 5 o'clock or 6, is to send the jury home and let y'all rest and come back for closings Friday morning when you're fresh. That's probably what we're doing. If something changes tomorrow, I'll let you know. If you can be flexible tomorrow night, that would be great. I'm sorry to make it a question mark. But normally, if we end in the early to mid-afternoonish, it takes us an hour or so to work on jury instructions because each of you is going to have your own copy of jury instructions. So that takes some time that I can't do anything with you guys because I've got to have my attention here with the attorneys. And we can't do anything on the case until we get jury instructions. And we sort of have to wait to the end of the case to get through them. So that's our general plan. There is no plan for tomorrow. No, the general plan is more likely than not, we will, I believe, finish the case tomorrow as far as evidence. You may go home and come back Friday morning for the closing arguments and deliberate. It's maybe a small possibility we'll push through, but I'll keep you posted. How does that sound? Can everybody be somewhat flexible? You've been so gracious. I appreciate you. Who's your favorite judge? You're my favorite jury. Go home. Oh, I'm going to ask that y'all come back like you've been doing. Y'all get here at 8:30. Turn off the coffee pot, and we'll start court at 8:45. Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let's take up one or two things. Everybody can have a seat and relax. The one issue that was brought to my attention this morning about I think it's Ritchie's testimony. Mr. Barossett, I'm now prepared on that. Is there anything else you wanted to put in the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then I'm going to allow Ms. Ritchie to testify consistent with her August 2nd, 2019 report, where I think she talks about that she's looked at the gun in addition to the bullet, as described earlier this morning. I will allow that testimony over objection.
I would like a requested instruction on the expert before she testifies.
Which, are we talking about the standard expert instruction? Okay, any objection?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I'll pull that up tomorrow and have it ready to go. Okay.
I provided the defense with jury instructions the last time we were set for trial. Do you still have those?
Yeah, we'll look at them.
I just didn't know if I needed to bring more copies.
You still have them.
Okay, great.
I think I have my copy somewhere. I gave it to our staff attorney. For sure, for certain, we're back on track time-wise. I feel good about all that. Mr. Brossett's got a plan to get his chiropractor more on call in case we had time for his testimony in the morning. Be prepared to talk about jury instructions. And Ms. Jensen have somebody who can function to make corrections to jury instructions, as we typically do. All right, can the state think of anything else that we need to deal with tonight?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Barossett, Barry Barossett?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. John Barossett?
No, ma'am.
Ms. McArthur, you're good? Okay. So our plan is tomorrow, like it's been all week, I will have court security open the courtroom at 8:15 for the media folks or anybody who has a technology thing to get in here and set up. And then the attorneys, I'm going to come at 8:45 and assume we've got, again, since we have a minute, we know what the schedule is of the witnesses for the state tomorrow. We've got Jennifer Wilkerson, Jeff Brown, Jennifer Spears, Elizabeth Ritchie, Wayne Wright, and Dr. Minyard. are there any issues that you know of right now that would apply to those people so we could discuss them?
Only to renew our objection on the motion to suppress before they testify.
Okay, and that's on, is that on the cell
Yes.
phone? Okay,
That won't take but a minute.
okay. Anything else you're aware of, Mr. John
The
Barasa?
only thing is, I spoke to Ms. Jensen a while ago, and I haven't looked at the exhibits that go with the cell phone trays. You're not using the pie ones, correct?
No.
Okay, then there shouldn't, we had that conversation a while ago, so.
Yeah, I think the only exhibits left are, I'm not Renee is our clerk, official head clerk on this, but I've got 139, 140 A through W, 141 through 150, 155 to 157. I think some other things were used to refresh, and one was ID only. But I think that's what's left. So if y'all can just look at those exhibits tonight, that would be helpful. And if you have exhibits you know that you're going to be using that would be new and startling or just new to Ms. Jensen, it's appreciated if you give her a heads up on that as well. And with that, unless there's any other business, it is now.
5 minutes with her here after you adjourn.
Sure. Can we do that? We absolutely can. Now, you may want to actually go in, I mean, everybody's muting their mics, but you might want to go right back in that immediate area, but I'll leave that up to y'all to sort out, okay?
Thank you.
All right. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8:45. Thank you.
All rise. Clerk report is reconvened. Be seated, maintain order.
Oh, thank you. Did Renee bring it? I mean, did Yvonne? She should have had 3 copies. Good morning, everybody. I think Ms. Jensen's supposedly outside, so. But it looks like it's slowing down a little, so that takes some pressure off. Some pressure. Hello. Okay, we're back on the record. State of Florida versus Ashley McArthur, case 17 CF 5844. State is present. Defense attorneys are present with the defendant. Ms. Jensen, anything before we get started today?
Ma'am.
Mr. Barry Barasa?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. John Barasa?
No, ma'am.
We're good, Ms. McArthur? All right, I've got that since I believe Ms. Wilkerson is a DNA expert. I have that language about expert witnesses, and I was just going to read it at the beginning of the day.
Oh, I thought it was one of it before.
But I just thought I would just read it before all the experts testified. Just read it first thing, and then we've got several people who might be qualified as experts.
That's fine, sir.
Okay. All right. I think our jury is here. They are excellent about being on time, which is most appreciated. And once my group can organize themselves over here, if that's likely to happen, we will get started. Reminder to everybody, I feel like we've been together, most of y'all, all week. A reminder, do not react, do not be texting, do not be recording. Please don't be disruptive. The media is free to record and do their thing. Everybody else no. And if you can't follow the rules, you're going to be told to go for the day. And that will be that. So. All right, we have a couple of people who are missing their notepads.
Jury's in the box room.
All right, and everybody have a seat. And for the record, defendant is present with counsel, assistant state is present. Good morning, everybody. Remember Monday? Doesn't that seem, no? Well, that's my point. Doesn't that seem like a long time ago? And you didn't know anybody, and now y'all are a team over there. I appreciate very much that everybody's on time. Getting 15 people on time makes a huge difference. So thank you for that. All right, let's start off with my question of the morning. It's not going to be who's your favorite judge. We'll skip that one this morning. But how about, has anybody done any research on the case? No. Has anybody talked to anybody about the case? Has anybody been trying to connect to streaming and see what other people have to say about the case? Has anybody had somebody send you a clip or something that you need to tell me about, even if it wasn't your fault? No. Anybody been going to Britt Road or anywhere, Raintree yesterday? No. Is there anything anyone needs to share with me that would affect their ability to be fair and impartial? Okay. I'm going to read an instruction. You'll hear this again when we do our final instructions. Today, you're going to hear from expert witnesses. Expert witnesses are like other witnesses with one exception. The law permits an expert witness to give his or her opinion. However, an expert's opinion is reliable only when given on a subject about which you believe him or her to be an expert. Like other witnesses, you may believe or disbelieve all or any part of an expert's testimony. As far as our schedule today, I think we're back on our normal schedule, which is, I'm going to say that we're going to try to have lunch at 11:45-ish or so today. So we're back on more of a normal schedule. Ms. Jensen, will you call your first witness of the day?
Jennifer Wilkerson.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right. You may have a seat. Pull up to the microphone. State your name, and you can move it towards you if you want, like move it. We've had people looking at the screen, so it's, there you go. State your name and spell your last name, please.
Jennifer Wilkerson, Wilkerson.
You may inquire.
Ms. Wilkerson, where are you employed?
I'm a crime laboratory analyst with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the biology and crime scene sections.
How long have you worked for FDLE?
I started in January of 2006.
So what are your specific duties with FDLE in the biology section?
I examine items of evidence for the presence of body fluids like blood, semen, and saliva, or I'll occasionally be asked to swab an item for skin cells left behind from the person that touched or wore that item. I will then take that on and develop a DNA profile, and then I will compare that DNA profile to other DNA profiles in the case.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in biology from the College of William and Mary. I have a master's degree in biomedical sciences from Eastern Virginia Medical School. And I have a master's degree in forensic science from Virginia Commonwealth University.
Do you have any specialized education or training in the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Yes, with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I completed their approximate 1-year training program in serology and DNA.
Have you received specialized training in the use of statistics, excuse me, to interpret the significance of a DNA test result?
Yes.
Do you perform proficiency testing?
Yes.
How often?
I take 2 proficiency tests a year in the DNA section.
Have you personally performed the procedures involved in forensic DNA analysis?
Yes.
Approximately how many samples have you worked?
Around 16,000.
Have you testified as an expert in DNA analysis before?
Yes.
Approximately how many times?
Around 150.
What is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it's your genetic blueprint. Kind of like the blueprint of a house is going to tell you where your bedroom is, the kitchen. DNA is ultimately going to tell you what color hair you're going to have, what color eyes, how many fingers and toes, and you get half from your mother and half from your father.
Why is it important in forensics?
It's important because a DNA individual is unique to them unless you're an identical twin. Therefore, it can help identify a subject or link a subject to a crime or free an innocent person.
Did you receive evidence in the state of Florida versus Ashley McArthur?
Yes.
And did you specifically receive a buccal swab from Ashley McArthur?
Yes.
What is a buccal swab?
It's looks like a long Q-tip, and it's used to swab the inside of your cheek in order to get that person's known DNA profile.
Did you receive a rib bone from Taylor Wright?
Yes.
And were you able to obtain complete DNA profiles for each of those individuals?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to talk about a Ford F-250 first. Your January 16th, 2018 report. Did you receive a pair of work gloves from the rear center floorboard?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you do with those gloves?
I swabbed the inside of the gloves and the outside of the gloves on separate swabs in order to determine the person that was wearing them and who that person may have touched from the outside.
And did you do any sort of, chemical test first?
I did check the gloves for the presence of blood, and it was negative.
Okay. And then what was your finding as to those gloves?
The outside of the gloves gave me a complex mixture. This means there was too many people in the mixture for me to use it, so the results were not interpretable. The inside of the gloves had limited DNA results that were not interpretable.
Did you also receive some swabs from the rear driver's seat?
Yes.
And what was your finding as to those?
I again checked that for the presence of blood, and it was negative. I then ran the DNA on them, and I developed a mixture of at least 3 individuals. Then I did that comparison to the rib bone from Taylor Wright, and she was excluded as being part of that mixture. And I compared it to Ashley McArthur, and it failed to just demonstrate statistical support for inclusion or exclusion. Therefore, basically no determination could be made of whether Ashley McArthur was in the mixture or not.
Did you also receive some swabs from the front interior passenger door from that F-250?
Yes.
And did you receive some swabs from the front exterior passenger door handle?
Yes.
Did you also receive some swabs from some 9mm rounds that were found in that F-250?
Yes.
And did you receive some swabs from a Glock magazine?
Yes.
As well as some swabs from some 9mm rounds from the Glock magazine?
Yes.
Okay, and if you will just go through each of those in your report and report your findings.
The swabs from the front interior passenger door, I developed a mixture of at least 3 individuals. When I compared Wright and McArthur to that, both of them were excluded as being part of that mixture. From the swabs from the exterior passenger door handle and the swabs from the Glock magazine, I developed limited DNA results that were not interpretable. The swabs of the 9mm Luger round, the loose round, and the ones from the magazine, they actually got dropped at a step of the DNA process called quantitation. There was just not enough DNA for me to even continue with the process.
So let me ask you this. If we know Ashley McArthur and Taylor Wright were in that vehicle on September 8th of 2017, how is it possible that their DNA is not detected?
There are a number of reasons that could be. Over time, in a car, Florida especially, gets very hot. It can denature or destroy the DNA. Over time, also, people will wipe away the DNA that was there and leave their own DNA behind, or someone could have actively cleaned it and tried to wipe the DNA away.
The fact that these swabs were taken approximately 6 weeks after they were known to be in that truck, could that also affect your ability to get DNA?
Yes, that could be the reason that they weren't found if they were known to be in that car.
I'm going to talk about your Britt Road reports, which are going to be January 16th, 2018. Did you swab a tote bag, or did you receive the actual swabs?
I swabbed a black and white striped tote bag.
Okay. And what was your finding for that tote bag?
I took 2 swabbings of the tote bag, one of the interior of the bag and one from the handles. The interior of the bag, I had limited DNA results that were not interpretable, and my swabbing of the handles actually got dropped at that quantitation state because there was not enough DNA for me to continue.
And what about your findings for a mortar bag, the interior of a tote bag, a towel, a blue jacket, hammock hooks and cord, pleats on hammock, and a gray jacket.
For the mortar bag, I took 2 swabbings of the mortar bag as well. The bag was open, so I swabbed the open area where you may have had to cut it or rip it to get it open, and then just the entire exterior of the bag where you would have to touch it to carry the bag. And both of those gave me limited DNA results that were not interpretable. For the striped towel, I took a swabbing of the entire towel. I obtained limited DNA results that were not interpretable. For the gray jacket that had a picture of a lobster on it, I took a swabbing of the jacket for the wearer of the jacket, and I developed a partial female profile. I compared that to Taylor Wright and Ashley McArthur, and it did not match either one of them. And then I swabbed a blue Lands End jacket and obtained limited results that were not interpretable. The hammock swabs, I tested them for the presence of blood. They failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood. The DNA results were limited and not interpretable. And there was also a swab of the pleats of the hammock. That one gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, but the DNA results were limited and not interpretable.
On your second report from January 16th, 2018 for Britt Road, did you receive a yellow and gray raincoat?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do with that raincoat?
I tested it for the presence of blood, and it had 2 areas on the back that gave a weak positive indication for the possible presence of blood. So I took cuttings from both of those areas, plus I swabbed the raincoat for wearer, and all 3 of them had so little DNA that it got dropped at the quantitation state.
Those are my questions. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, I think it's Mr. Barry Barossett who's going to ask you questions. And remember, if it's yes or no, just answer yes or no.
Yes, sir.
You're up, Mr. Perez.
Good morning, Ms. Wilkerson. How are you?
Good morning. Good.
With your background, you're familiar with why law enforcement collects evidence, are you not?
Yes.
In other words, they look at evidence in critical places of a crime scene, such as maybe a barn or where a body's found, or doing the search of the house or any possible weapons, and they evaluate that as possibly having critical evidence for examination, correct?
Yes.
And in this particular case, you got quite a few exhibits for that purpose, did you not?
Yes.
And to begin with, you had the buccal swab of Miss Taylor, our client, correct?
Ms. Taylor, I got a rib bone. Taylor Wright.
Oh, excuse me, I confused me. And our client is Miss McArthur. You got a buccal swab of her, is that correct?
Yes.
And the purpose of that is to compare it with any other possible evidence that the law enforcement has collected. Is that true?
Yes.
And your job, you cannot select what they submit, but you have to rely upon what they submit in order to conduct your examination. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, did you also have occasion to examine some black shorts?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you examine those black shorts?
I issued the report on January 16th, 2018.
And where was it identified that those black shorts came from?
They came from a basement.
Basement. Okay. And what examination did you do with respect to the black shorts?
I examined them for the possible presence of blood, and they were negative.
Now, once you examine them for blood and you find negative results, do you still examine them for any DNA?
It depends on the nature of the item, whether it's needed or not.
I know you said sometimes you can take a swab or of material, correct? Or some other thing to see if there's any touch DNA?
Yes, I can.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what touch DNA is?
Touch DNA is skin cells that are left behind. For instance, when you touch like the steering wheel of your car, as you drive it, you'll leave skin cells on your steering wheel. That would be touch DNA.
could also be touched DNA on the handle of a firearm. Is that correct?
Yes,
And with the appropriate evidence, you can develop a profile, can you not, sometimes of people that have touched items?
yes,
Because DNA is very sensitive, is it not, if you have a quantitative amount to examine?
yes, it can be.
I understand that you also examined a purple hairbrush. Do you recall?
A hairbrush was submitted, but I did not examine it.
Do you know why it was submitted?
It was submitted to be used as a known standard for Taylor Wright.
And the reason you didn't use that was because you already had a known standard for Taylor Wright?
Yes, I developed a complete profile from the rib bone, so the hairbrush was not needed.
With respect to the gloves that you examined, I think it was in one of your reports, 24A. It said the outside of the gloves demonstrated presence of a mixture of 3 or more donors. Is that correct?
Yes,
But because they were mixed or complex, you weren't able to develop anything?
yes, because there were so many people that I couldn't interpret it or compare it to anybody.
Also on the driver's seat, apparently there was a mixture of approximately 3 donors and at least 1 male contributor on the rear driver's seat. Is that correct?
Yes,
You could tell that at least one of the contributors that of the DNA on the rear driver's seat was a male, correct?
yes,
I think Taylor Wright and my client were excluded, were they not?
Taylor Wright was. Ashley McArthur, no determination could be made.
And again, I think we've seen a picture of a yellow raincoat. Is that the one that you had to process?
I would imagine so. The raincoat I received was yellow.
Yellow and gray?
Yes,
And that was supposedly found, according to your report at least, it's identified as at 2201 Britt Road. Is that correct?
yes.
I noted in your report you said it exhibited the suspected blood. Why do you say suspected blood?
The test that I use for blood, it's a presumptive test, meaning it doesn't confirm blood. It just tells you that it's probably blood, because there are other things that will make it turn positive other than blood.
So it could be something other than blood.
Yes,
And in fact, you developed no DNA profile on that. Is that correct?
yes.
Ms. Jensen said to you, sometimes you don't get a profile because something could be wiped down or time can pass. Is that correct?
Yes,
But also we do know that DNA has been developed years and years later on different items, have they not?
yes, usually when it's a body fluid, but it can happen, yes.
And also many times they exclude people in a rape case that have already been convicted because of the presence of DNA from somebody else, correct?
Yes,
Now, looking at the interior door panel, again, it said this is the interior passenger side. Again, it notes 3 donors and at least 1 was a male contributor, correct?
yes.
And this is all from this 250 F250 pickup truck?
I don't believe I was told exactly what vehicle it came from.
So the state will stipulate that it was from the F250.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jensen.
And in this case, my client was excluded as a contributor. Is that correct? Even though you had a mixed DNA profile?
Yes,
That was on the, I think let's see if Exhibit 6 was from a Glock magazine.
I thought we were talking about the interior
Okay,
passenger door.
I'm sorry. Exhibit 6, I'm sorry. Exhibit 6 was a Glock swabs from a Glock magazine.
The swabs from the Glock magazine had limited DNA results. I didn't compare it.
Well, I'm looking here. Oh, okay. Let me see here. Exhibit 41. On that Glock magazine, it says Taylor Wright, which is Exhibit D1 was her profile, I take it, and Ashley Britt McArthur, Exhibit 41, are excluded as contributors to the mixed DNA profile.
From the interior passenger door, yes. Which is Exhibit 6.
I guess I'm confused because I'm looking at Exhibit 6 at the top of that. And on the preceding page, it also says Exhibit 6, swabs from the Glock magazine.
Oh, FDLE item 6
Yes,
is the swabs from the Glock magazine. Escambia County Exhibit 6 is
Okay.
the swabs from the interior passenger
okay.
door.
With respect to 19, then the Glock, you were not able to get anything. Is that correct?
It had limited DNA results that were not interpretable.
You also received one bag of Versa Bond mortar from the bedroom closet. Did you make any analysis of that?
Yes,
Was that for DNA?
yes, I swabbed it for touch DNA.
But the fact of the matter is, do you know whether or not that was ever sent anywhere to be processed to determine whether or not that concrete matched the concrete at the site?
No, I have no idea.
So basically, of all the evidence that you received for your DNA analysis for the presence of blood, you found nothing that connected my client, Ashley McArthur, to these items. Is that correct?
That's correct.
May I have a moment? No further questions. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Jones. Is she completely released?
Yes, being released as well.
Okay, you're completely free. Don't discuss your testimony. Call your next witness.
State House Jeff Brown.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, have a seat. Pull up to the microphone. State your name and spell your last name.
Jeffrey Brown, B-R-O-W-N.
You may approach with the court reporter. Please mute. All right, you may proceed.
Where are you employed?
The Pensacola Police Department.
What do you do for the Pensacola Police Department?
I'm currently assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division. Within that division, I primarily work on computer-based crimes.
And what are your actual duties? What do you do?
With the computer-based crimes, of course, I do handle any kind of investigations that are digital-based, but on top of that, I do the digital forensics for the Pensacola Police Department.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
Been a sworn member for approximately 16 years with the Pensacola Police Department, and then about 2.5 years before that as a non-sworn cadet.
Let me take you to September 18th of 2017. As part of your duties at that time, did you download and extract cell phone data?
I did.
And how would you do that?
The program that we use at the Pensacola Police Department is Celebrite. It's a software that we can extract various data from various cell phones.
What training and experience did you have at that time to work with Celebrite?
I've been certified with Celebrite to be able to extract various data from them.
Okay. And in September of 2017, were you provided a cell phone from Ashley McArthur?
I was.
Did you download the contents of her cell phone with Celebrite?
I did.
Now, were you able to actually access the download?
I was not.
Okay, why not?
On iPhones, particularly with Celebrite at that time, you had to have the password to the iTunes account, which protected a backup.
Okay, and did Miss McArthur provide you with an iTunes password?
She did.
And what happened with that?
It was unsuccessful, the first one that she provided.
Okay, did she provide other passwords?
She eventually did, I believe upwards of 5 or 6 different either variations of one that she gave me or different ones, and none of them were successful.
What did that end up doing to the download?
I wasn't able to view the data that was on there.
Now let's fast forward to a few weeks ago. Did you try to access the downloaded content again?
I did.
And what happened?
At that point, I was able to open the downloaded file with a newer version of Celebrite.
And how do you explain not being able to get into it back then, but you were a few weeks ago?
Basically, like most cell phones, they go through various updates. Celebrite is a software company and does no different. So back then in 2017, it wasn't able to access a file system from I guess you could say an operating system on an iPhone at that time. Fast forward 2 years from now, it was able to access a file system that was operating on the operating system back then.
Now, when Celebrite downloads the cell phone contents, does it produce a report?
Yes.
And are you able to change or alter that information?
No, I can only filter through the report, but not change.
Okay. And what type of information do these reports contain?
It can contain text messages, call logs, locations, physical activities. iPhones will monitor your physical activities. It can monitor that, photos, videos, various data from various apps and so forth.
Okay. Can it also at times retrieve deleted information?
It can.
Would it be fair to say that not everything in this report is going to be relevant to a case?
Correct.
No objections, subject to our bench conference, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be received as exhibit, I believe, 139.
Now, Detective Brown, just for record purposes, let's go through states 139 and just identify what the pages are. Is page 1 the identifying information for that phone?
Correct.
Okay, and does it have Ms. McArthur's 850-712-2299 on the first page?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and then pages, the next 2 pages are 1960, 1961. Are those her activity for 9/8/2017?
Yes.
And then pages 1964 through 1965, does that show some of her activity on September 9th?
It does.
Okay. On pages 4720, 4721, and 4722, are those text messages between Audrey and Ashley McArthur?
They are.
And then the next 22 pages, starting at 4925, and ending at 4986. Are those various text messages between Taylor Wright and Ashley McArthur about going to a bank?
They are.
Okay. On page 7041, do those show images of some firearms that were sent via text?
Yes.
Okay. And then on page 7044, does that show another firearm that was texted?
Yes, it does.
On page 7077, do those show some images of a motorcycle?
They do.
On page 7333, is there talk about some firearms between Brandon, or just as a Brandon and Ms. McArthur?
Yes.
On 7335, is there a text message between Cass and Ms. McArthur about looking through her car?
Yes.
Okay. On 7395, is there a conversation about a Kimber with Brandon on September 11th, 2017?
There is.
On 7396, is there conversation with Ms. McArthur and a Brandon about a gun on September 11th, 2017?
There is.
On 7460, is this a conversation from Ms. McArthur to Brandon about a truck being at the pool room?
Yes.
And then on pages 7482, 7483, 7484, are those conversations between Ms. McArthur and a T about meeting at Babes on September 7th, 2017?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. On the far right column, there are some places where it says yes. Yes, 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 yes on certain text messages. What does that mean?
Without looking at the cover sheet, I believe that's going to be where they were deleted at. And it says, yes, those were deleted, but they were able to be recovered.
On page 7791, is there a conversation or a text between Ms. McArthur and Brandon about a bike?
Yes.
And on 7793, is there again a conversation or text messages with Ms. McArthur and Brandon about a bike?
There is.
All right. And then on page 25914 at the top, is there an image on August 10th, 2017 of a check?
There is.
And on the last page, 24661, is there an image at the bottom of some cash?
There is.
Judge, I do not intend on publishing the entire packet, but I would like to show certain exhibits.
Sure.
Detective Brown, this is the first page, and does this just show Ms. McArthur's cell phone information?
Yes, it does.
This is going to be page 4721, and at the very bottom, the last two texts, can you read what those say? It's on, I think it's on September. I can't see in the dark.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, what is it? The last blue one on the left, and then the last green.
So the blue one on the left says, "Why were you winded when you called me?" That was at 9/8/2007 at 1:08 p.m. And the response was, "I picked up a saddle." And that again was on 9/8/2007 at 1:09 p.m.
2017.
17, sorry.
This is page 7041. And if you look at line 32, if you click on this blue link, did it produce an image?
Give me one second, get into
Sure.
it now. Yes, it did.
And is that on, can you read the date? I can't read this one.
The timestamp is 9/14/2017 at 6:17 p.m.
Line 32.
Oh, 32, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's the timestamp is 9/14/2017 at 7:45 p.m.
And then is this the image that comes up for that line number 32?
It is.
And then on line 33, is that the same time and date, or approximately same time and date?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then when you click on that blue link, did an image come up?
It did.
And is this the image that came up for line 33?
Yes.
Now onto line 34, it looks like there are a number of images.
Correct.
Okay, and when you clicked on those links, did some more firearm pictures come up?
Yes, they did.
And for the record, this is line 32. Image 4293. This is image 4292. And this is image 4293. Right, on to page 7044. On line 71, at the bottom, if you click on that blue image, did that also pull up a firearm?
It did.
And is this the firearm for that image?
Yes, it was.
This is page 7077. Line 399 up here. If you click on that blue image, did this truck and motorcycle come up?
It did.
And then on line 402, right here, did another image of that motorcycle come up?
Yes.
Let me go back. What's the date on that?
For the truck and the motorcycle,
Yes. Line 399.
would have been August 17th, 2017 at 12:18 p.m.
This is page 25914. This top image, or this top line, which is 14211. If you clicked on this blue link, did it give you a bigger picture of this image right here?
It did.
And is this that image?
Yes, it was.
And then on page 24661, if you clicked on this image at line 3319, did it give you a bigger picture of this little image right here?
It did.
And what is the date, or what is the capture date on that?
August 17th, 2017 at 10 o'clock a.m.
And is that the image for that?
It was.
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. John Barosset is going to ask you questions, and if it's yes or no, just answer yes or no, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't volunteer extra information.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Going back to getting into Mrs. McArthur's cell phone, you also went over to her residence on Raintree Drive, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mrs. McArthur allowed you to have access, I guess they had some sort of home computer there?
Correct.
And she assisted you in getting on her computer, correct?
Correct.
And gave you full access to her computer, correct?
Correct.
To make whatever attempts to get into her cell phone, correct?
Correct.
How long were you at the residence that day?
I'm not exactly sure, maybe an hour at the most.
Was your interaction or conversation with Mrs. McArthur recorded in any form or fashion?
I did not record it. I'm not sure if Detective Gigliotti, who was with me, did or not. It was very brief, my interaction.
Okay,
Sorry.
yes or
Yeah,
no?
sorry.
You're starting to get it.
When you use the Cellbrite on Mrs. McArthur's phone, does it gives you everything on the phone?
Not everything.
And that's a poor question. And how far back does it go? Time or date wise?
It depends on the phone.
Okay, in this case, how far back did it go?
I'd have to look at the full report to see the farthest back.
Okay, you don't have the full report with you?
No, the full report's several thousand pages.
All right. upwards, maybe 28,000, something like
Could be.
that? All right. And it certainly went back, can you say, well before September and August of 2017, correct?
Yes.
Further back than July, June of 2017?
Yes.
Did you take the time to look at the material in, let's just say, the spring and early summer or summertime of 2017?
I don't remember going through that.
Could you have gone through it?
Sure.
Okay. And that was probably another poor question. Is it fair to say when you were looking through this information, there were certainly many times that Ashley McArthur took photographs of firearms other than the couple times that were shown here this morning?
Yes.
And it's fair to say there are certainly times, again, we're talking prior to August and September 2017, where, let's back up. You also able to get searches, like most of us probably use Google, at least I do, and you can do searches, correct?
Correct.
And you had the ability to look at all of her searches during whatever time period you wanted, right?
Correct.
And there was nothing of any of those searches that caught your attention as it relates to what we're all here about this week, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall, though, that there were searches just on general interest of firearms going back again, spring 2017, summer 2017, just looking at firearms?
I don't recall.
May I have one moment? No further questions.
Ms. Jensen?
When you went to Ms. McArthur's home and tried to get in her computer or whatever, what was the problem there?
The passwords that I was getting to access the iTunes were still unsuccessful.
Thank you, those are all my questions.
All right, is he completely free to go?
No,
Okay, then do you want him to remain outside?
no, he can leave the courthouse, but he is subject to recall.
Okay. Mr. John Brossett, is that all right? He leaves, but he,
Of course, yes, ma'am.
okay, so when we call, answer the phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And it would be today, I think, so. Okay. All right, call your next witness.
Jennifer Spires.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, have a seat. Pull up to the microphone, and you can pull that microphone down a little if you want to. There you go. State your name and spell your last name.
Jennifer Spires, Spiers.
You may inquire.
Good morning. Ms. Spires, where are you employed?
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
What do you do for FDLE?
I'm currently the Senior Crime Intelligence Analyst Supervisor.
And how long have you been with FDLE?
I've been at FDLE a little over 6 years.
How long have you been an analyst? I know you're a supervisor now, but how long have you been an analyst?
I've been an analyst about 13 and a half years.
And what are your specific duties?
At FDLE, we're a state agency. We assist not only our own agents, but other law enforcement agencies with investigations. So we do things such as background investigations, financial record analysis, cell phone record analysis, basically anything that's needed over the course of an investigation.
What education and training do you have to perform your duties at FDLE?
I've got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I've had hundreds of hours of various analytical training, about 200 hours specific to cell phone record analysis.
Approximately how many times have you analyzed cell phone records?
I've analyzed probably 300 to 400 different phone numbers.
Can you describe the basic process when a cell phone makes a call?
So when you dial cell phone, you dial a phone number, you're connected to typically the closest tower with the best signal, where it's then routed to a switch, then it's routed to another cell phone. If you're calling another cell phone, it's routed to the tower closest to them with the best signal, or if it's a landline, then it would go through that.
Now, you say a cell phone will typically use the closest tower with the strongest signal. Are there factors that come into play as to which cell tower is used?
There can be things that affect not using the closest tower, such as weather, tall buildings, terrain, could be tower overload. You know, if there's a lot of people using one tower, it might route to the next closest. The tower could be down for maintenance. So there's a number of factors.
Would you expect to be in the downtown Pensacola area and using a tower in Milton?
No.
Would you expect to be in East Milton by the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office and using a tower in Cantonment?
No.
Do cell phone companies keep records of when calls are made, the towers that are used, and things of that nature?
Yes.
And then are law enforcement agencies able to get those phone records?
Yes.
Do the carriers provide the cell tower locations upon request?
Yes.
Okay. And when you receive those records, does the cell carrier put them in any sort of special order to help you analyze them?
No, they have their own format.
Okay, so what do you do when you receive the information?
Well, we do have some programs that help us where we can load the phone records and it'll output a map just for quick process. But then I will go through and manually look at the original records and then plot the tower locations myself.
And the programs themselves use kind of a cone that is a little misleading. Do they not?
Yes.
Okay, and you don't use those?
No.
Okay. What types of information do these cell phone carriers actually provide upon request?
It's typically like number dialed, calling number, called number, the date, time, duration, direction, whether it was a text or a phone call. And then sometimes there can be a lot of other tower information on there.
Okay. Did you review cell phone records in this case for 850-712-2299 Ashley McArthur, as well as 954-520-0310 for Taylor Wright, 850-208-8019 for a James Hayes, and 850-530-2225 for a Brandon Beatty. And then lastly, 850-378-6298 for a Brandon Beatty.
Yes.
Okay, and were you asked to focus on September 8th and September 9th of 2017?
Yes.
Did you take the information from the phone carriers and plot them on maps?
Yes.
How do you actually do that?
So not every record has tower location. So the records that had tower locations, I took those. The tower has a number, and then there are typically sectors or sides to the tower. In this case, there are 3 sides to the cell phone towers. So the phone company will provide the tower number, which correlates to a location, and then it'll provide the sector. And then the sector it provides the center of that sector. So I kind of plot a third of a circle, if you will, to show that side.
Okay. Now, are you able to tell the jury exactly how far or how wide or how many miles that a cell tower covers?
No.
Okay, and why not?
That's the phone company owns that information and they don't release it.
And do the phone companies provide tower locations for text?
Some companies do. In this case, there are no tower locations for text messages.
an objection to the remission?
Just subject to our bench conference and that objection up there, no other objections.
All right.
Judge, at this time, I would move in seats 140 A through W.
All right. They'll be received over the objection already argued at the bench.
And Judge, may I publish? This is page A of 140, and is this just showing the phone record that you analyzed in this case?
Yes.
And D is just showing the date.
Correct.
All right, this map is very busy. Can you explain for the jury what this page, which is going to be C, as in cat, shows?
So I was asked to plot the records for these two numbers, the 712 number and this 954 number, for 9/8/2017 between 11:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. So here we have, I've indicated in green any records for the 712 number, and then when there's any blue blocks here, those are for the 954 number. So here between 11:30 and 5, starting out, the first call is around 11:49 a.m., hitting here at a sector near Tower Ridge Road and 9 Mile Road. This is kind of, this is the center of the sector, and this is just to give you an idea of that sector, that side. So we have those 4 that were here. And then the next one is up here at 12:05. It's going to be on this sector that kind of faces southwest. And then between 12:10 and 1:27, we're between these two sectors, towers and sectors right here.
And do you have Britt Road on this?
Britt Road is right there at the top.
Okay.
And then down, we come back down here, 1:44 p.m. We're back on this sector and tower. And then 1:46, we're down here near 8 Mile Creek is right here, Pine Forest Road. We're on this tower and sector.
This is, excuse me, map D. What does this show?
So this just continues the time frame. 154 up here at Old Palafox, near 29, Highway 29 in the interstate. And then down here, 157, we're near Airport Boulevard and the interstate. 159 is over here near Tahar and 9th Avenue. And then lastly, 204, 207, this is a tower near the airport.
Okay, and then were you asked to plot 3961 Rangetree Drive?
Yes.
Now there are no, there's no phone activity for the 954 number during this time frame, correct?
Correct.
This is map F. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I lied. This is map E. And what is this showing?
E, this is going to be still continuing on in this time frame. We have still for the 712 number, we have 225 at 225. We're down here kind of in the Brownsville area, going up near Mobile Highway, Fairfield Drive. 226, we are still on the same tower, just a different sector or side. And then at 228, we're up here near Michigan and Mobile Highway.
And again, no activity for the 954 number?
No.
This is map F. What does this show?
F, this is going to be, again, the first one on this map is 2:40 p.m. Back over here near, this is Pine Forest Road and the next exit after Pine Forest Road at 2:40. And then from 2:45 to 3:08, we're back up here on this tower off of Beulah Road, going towards Muskogee.
Okay, is this right up here at the top?
Yes. And then 332 and 333, we're on this tower, and then just two different sectors.
And again, no activity for the 954 number?
No.
This is map G.
We have 3:46 PM. We're back up here at near Palafox and 9 Mile Road on a kind of southeast facing sector. Then we go 4 o'clock is back down here near Brent Lane towards the interstate. And then 4:41 to 4:50, we're on the tower by the airport again with the southern facing sector.
This is H.
So this is a different phone number. It's for 208-8019. Between this time frame, there were only 2 phone calls that had towers, and they were both on the same tower, just different sectors.
This is map I.
This starts out for these 2 phone numbers, 530-2225 and 378-6298 for the same time frame on September 8th. The phones were, a lot of them were in the same location. So these were the calls for the 378, and then these were the calls for the 530, all on this tower down in Brownsville.
This is J.
These are 2 more calls for the 530 number at 1239 and 1242. Same tower, just different sectors.
This is K.
This is, again, just a continuance of these 2 phone numbers. All of these records were on this tower up near Palafox and 9 Mile, the southern facing sector. And then we have these calls were over here near Ashland, Detroit Boulevard. Down here you have Longleaf Drive. This is Highway 29. And then 410 to 459 is back up on the tower at Palafox and 9 Mile, just a different sector.
Okay. And were you asked to plot 8600 Pensacola Boulevard?
Yes.
All right, on to September 9th. This is just page L. This is M. What does this show?
This is back to the original 2 numbers, the 712 and the 954, on September 9th from 7:15 a.m. to 10:15 that night. The first calls that day were 7:25 to 8:05 on the tower here off of Beulah Road.
And is this right here?
Yes.
This is N as in Nancy.
So 937 is the next call for the 712 number down here near Tahar and 9th Avenue. And then we have 939 and 1017 is the airport tower. 2 different sectors for both of those calls. Then we have 1021 is up here off of Creighton near Lanier. And then over here back towards the I-10-10 interchange at 1044 and 1047.
Okay, and no activity for the 954 number.
Correct.
This is O.
O is just a continuance, 712 at 1059. This sort of northwest facing sector on this tower down here off of Garden Street, or I'm sorry, Cervantes. And then 1102 to 1205 here, the calls were on the same tower, just a different sector.
This is P.
This shows 12:39 p.m. call for the 712 number up near Highway 29 and the interstate. And then another set of calls up here at Old Palafox and 9 Mile.
This is Q.
Q, we're back out here on Beulah Road, 145, 157, and then over here off of Kingsfield Jacks Branch at 155, 159.
And again, this is, I just lost it.
Right here.
Road. Thank you. This is R.
We have 240 to 259 up here at Palafox and 9 Mile. And then 301, 302 is back over here near the interstate and 29.
S as in Sam.
310, we're at Creighton and Lanier, and 312, 339, the tower and sector by the airport.
This is T as in Tom.
So again, green is for 712, blue is going to be for 954. At 511, 512, tower up here near Loxley, Alabama. And then we have the for the 712 number, we have 520 to 634 on this northwestern facing sector. And then at 553 for the 954 number, it's on the same tower and sector out there in Robertsdale. And then 638, same tower in Robertsdale, just a different side. And then 641 and 643 for the 712 number is coming back east through Elsinore and Seminole, Alabama.
And was this the first activity for the 954 number that you'd seen in a while?
Yes.
This is you.
So on this map, at 7:11 p.m. for the 954 number, we're out here near 8 Mile Creek, 9 Mile Road area. And then for the 712 number at 7:31, it's back over here near Palafox and 9 Mile.
This is V.
This is going to be for the 712 number. We have 811 to 931 is back on the tower near the airport with this kind of southern southeast facing sector. And then for the 954 number at 817 and 820, same tower and sector at the airport.
And this little plot is for 3961 Raintree Drive.
Yes.
This is W.
This is going to be up here kind of near Scenic and the interstate, 934, 935. These are all, again, for the 712 number. 943 is still kind of in the area of Scenic and the interstate. And then over here, 947 is off of Avalon Boulevard in the state and the interstate. And then 10:12 and 10:14 p.m. is back at 9 Mile in Palafox.
Now, there was not a lot of activity between September 8th and September 9th on the 954 number, correct?
Correct.
And I know it's not plotted, but on September 8th of 2017, did the 712 number use a tower in East Milton, Santa Rosa County at any time between 11:30 a.m. and 5 p.m.?
No.
Did the 712 number use a tower in Milton at some point later that evening around 7:30 or 8 p.m.?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are all my questions.
All right, Mr. John Barros, that's going to be asking you questions, and if they're just yes or no, please answer yes or no. Don't volunteer extra info, okay?
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Good seeing you again. Many times you were asked by Ms. Jensen a phrase similar to, well, there was not a lot of activity for the 954 number. You recall being asked that a number of times as we went through those charts?
Yes.
All right. What you're saying then is that there weren't any calls at that time?
There were not any calls with tower information.
Okay. That's what you mean by not a lot of activity, right?
For this map, yes.
All right. Did I hear you correctly? It's not including any type of text that could be sent?
Correct.
All right. or other activities someone may use on their phone, such as searches, correct?
Correct.
Social media, correct?
Yes.
All right, so just limited to calls.
Yes.
All right. Ingoing and outgoing calls,
Yes.
does that include calls, like if someone calls me, I don't answer it, include those?
Yes.
Okay. To make these charts that the state introduced into evidence, so we're clear and the jury's clear, you're relying on solely someone to make, or a phone to make or receive a phone call.
For these records, yes.
And to boil it down, if a phone is not making or receiving a call in a certain area, it doesn't mean the person is not there, correct? Based on these charts.
Correct.
Okay. A person could be in an area or a sector of a cell tower, and based on the information you have in the charts here, if they're not receiving a call or making a call, doesn't mean they're not in that area.
Correct.
We know, as you told the jury on direct examination, that it's common for you as a cell phone user not always to use the closest cell tower to you. It happens all the time, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you gave the jury several scenarios of why that may happen. Most of the cell towers in this area have 3 sectors,
Yes.
and there is no set width for a sector, correct? That you know of.
That I know of.
All right. And there's no set distance how far out a sector reaches that you know of, correct?
Correct.
And many times sectors will actually overlap each other, correct?
Correct.
Let's assume for this question that someone is in a particular sector of a particular tower. You, as an expert and with the information you have, you can't say where someone exactly is in that sector, correct?
Correct.
The jury heard a interview of Mrs. McArthur on October 19th, 2017 with officers from the Pensacola Police Department, Will Height and Gigliotti. And at one point they were going through some records with her and mentioned, well, if Taylor Wright made this text to you, then she had to be sitting in your bedroom right next to you. From the information and being an expert in this area, could you ever tell anything like that? That someone was that close?
No.
Okay, so that wouldn't be a true statement?
No.
And it's certainly possible that a phone, well, let me get the word possible out. It certainly happens that a phone is picked up by sectors that a person is not even in, correct?
Correct.
And as we already said, they can use a tower that's not the closest to them, correct?
Yes.
So to boil it down, what you're saying is that, let's back up. You got these phone records of these individuals the state went through, and what you're saying is that these are the sectors, these are the towers and sectors that on the phone records I looked at, correct?
Yes.
Not that any of these people were in these certain areas, correct?
Yes.
May I have one moment? No further questions.
Ms. Jensen?
When the 954 number and the 712 number are both using a tower in Robertsdale, Alabama on September 9th, do you remember that, the map and the phone?
Yes.
Either those phones are together or the people who own them are together. Fair to say?
That's fair, yes.
Thank you.
Is she completely released?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she?
Can I please have one follow-up question?
All right. One question.
All right. Didn't you just tell us that you can't say that just because they're using the same sector, they're using the same tower, doesn't mean phones are actually in the same sector and tower? I only get one question. Isn't that what you just told us?
It's not absolute.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jensen, I'm gonna let you have it. Do you want to follow up?
Okay.
Okay. All right, is she completely released?
She is completely released.
Is she?
Yes, ma'am.
You're completely released. If you have an exhibit, leave it there and don't discuss your testimony, okay? Let me see counsel at the bench without the court reporter. We were just up here talking about scheduling. We're in good shape. Don't worry about that. What we're going to do is go ahead and give you your morning break. And, uh-oh, I got the blankets coming out again, unfortunately. I thought we were better this morning. We're going to be back at 10:25. Notepads, pencils, leave them here. Don't discuss the case. I'll see y'all back at 10:25, okay? Thank you.
Two or a handful, huh? Hold on one sec. Just
Let me
ended.
play this because allegedly Green Owls.
Hold on one second. Hold on. That's why I say, hold on. Oh, no, Betty, you don't believe me. Disclaimer. All right, tomorrow is Cassandra, which was Taylor's ex-girlfriend, and she's got a ton of information. That's about an hour, and then there's about another hour and a half-ish of the trial, and then this one will be done. If you have ideas for the next trial, let me know. Keep in mind that the trial for Charlie Adelson starts in April. So what I think we're going to do is start the other trial that has to do with this same case, and we'll just do the lives because it's going to be relevant once we get to April 23rd. And that is a case about a woman, very beautiful woman, whose husband is murdered in his driveway right after picking up or dropping off his children. And it's connected to gangs. It's connected to all kinds of crazy shit. So we're going to do that. And then we'll just slide right into Charlie's case in April. Tomorrow is Tuesday, right? Yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday. It'll probably be 10, I think. I'm thinking 10 o'clock. Hopefully that works for everybody. All right, sounds good. Oh, it's very interesting. That one is super interesting, but I'll be probably stopping and interjecting a couple of times in the beginning just to give you the backstory because it's very involved and it is scandalous. It's a mess. And I cannot wait for the Charlie Adelson trial. Oh my goodness. So, no kids till 3. Yay, we got time then. All right, y'all. I am off. Love you so much. Bye, guys.